that there were other changes later in the 60s.
I always thought they'd end up being bankers and lawyers, and indeed that's what they have turned out to be. They've melded quite well into the system and aren't a threat to anybody anymore, along with growing a little heavier. But they turned out fine. They turned out fine.
Harvey, walk up?
One thing I wanted to do at Groveton was to get out of Groveton and go out in the world. And I've done that. And here we are trucking all over the United States and Canada and having a ball. Well, I don't know. I have to go buy some clothes so I can be presentable. They said no jeans, and truck drivers only own jeans, so. But I'll have on my handmade ostrich boots, so that makes up for all the. Never was a dresser, never was. Hang on, yeah. Here we go.
The assassination of JFK, the civil rights movement, the wonders and dangers of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, career and economic changes, women's expectations, the baby boom generation faced a lot of challenges, but none perhaps as difficult and divisive as the Vietnam War. Jim Whedon, class of '61, was among the first to face the war.
Big factor, the Vietnamese War was the big factor. And I think my class were just ready to go because that's what our fathers had done. And when the war turned out to ask a lot of questions in people's minds, the kids of the 67, 68, 69s were not ready to just take it at face value. You know, this patriotic box that everybody was supposed to be in. So definitely the biggest factor.
Leslie Overstreet, class of '67, Peter Sisman, '61, and Joyce Burchell and Peachy Pumphrey, class of '64, also recount their own perceptions of the Vietnam War.
Spent my junior year at the Sorbonne in Paris. And that was when the lottery came in. I remember that. Vietnam, of course, was going on all through this, but when all of us left high school, of course, was when the guys were subject to the draft, and it started becoming a real personal issue for all of us, but even for women who had friends who would be affected. And I remember in '69, wasn't it? The winter of '69, when they had the lottery. And just paying attention to all the dates as they came up, who I knew that, you know, got a good number or a bad number and so on. My brother, fortunately, thank God, got a real high number. He wasn't in college, so he would have been in big trouble otherwise. But that was a major theme through all the college years, but not so much at Groveton for me.
I was strongly opposed to the Vietnam War. I mean, I just thought it was immoral. I still didn't think the people that participated in waging that war are war criminals. I mean, it's not a minor issue with me. And you know, I was somewhat struck. And in my senior year of college was the time they decided to end the deferment for graduate school. And I was called up for a physical in my first year of law school. And so I sort of found an area where if you could get them to pay attention, you know, I wouldn't meet the physical criteria. It was an eyesight thing. Apparently, in those days, if you had a certain lens correction, even if you were correctable to 20/20, the lens correction would take you out of the running. And so I managed to convince the medical examiners that I was over that limit, and I got a 1Y. And so I didn't really have to face the moral question myself.
Well, Vietnam, at least for me, Vietnam was a big one, and I still am very much anti-Vietnam. government. Why? It ruined so many families. I mean, not only with the deaths of sons and husbands and loved ones and brothers, but the maiming of it, and then the mental anguish that they all still go through. And that doesn't change, and you can't erase that. And I'm still very much anti-Vietnam.
So many of our friends went over there, and the reaction that the country was having to them. I mean, we went through a lot during that age, and it was some of it was good, but some of it was really bad. I mean, the man on the moon, that was great.
Groveton students did serve in Vietnam. Some were casualties, like Frank Dove, class of 1967.
Got shot and they retired me, so I've been retired for 25 years.
What were the circumstances of you being shot?
Circumstances?
Yeah.
I was shot on patrol by automatic weapons fire, shot in the stomach and the leg.
You have a long recuperation?
Oh yeah, a year. I was in the hospital for a year. It took me a year to walk again. And I come up here every year and run the Marine Corps Marathon in October. So I'll be back up here again in October. The way the war was fought, we could have had sent 1 million more people there and it wouldn't have done any good. It was the war that Congress was bound to lose for us. The soldiers didn't lose that war, the Congress lost it for us. This thing that happened in Oklahoma City in May or June, when the guy blew up the federal building and killed all the women and children, and you know, it's difficult to see things like that. You know, I went there to fight for our freedom, and then I see something like that. It hurts. Actually, I live 15 miles west of Gainesville, in a place called Newberry. I have a farm where I raise goats and breed citrus trees. I'm trying to breed a cold hardy citrus tree.
As might be expected, the reunion weekend also featured some strange sidelights. In addition to the great late-night gathering Friday night at the Marriott in Alexandria, on Saturday afternoon, Dave Ringwalt, Jay Radin, John Nelson, all class of '65, along with Hallie Moriyama, class of '66, returned to their old Holland Hills swimming pool to reclaim their team relay record of 35 years ago. With no practice sessions since that time and a few extra pounds possibly threatening their vaunted speed,
Johnny! Yo, good time! Bring it out, Holly! Move! Go! Go! Come on, Holly!
the team was again triumphant and vowed to assemble again in 25 years. The Groveton Jubilee of its first 13 graduating classes brought back many memories. Reaching out to over 2,000 graduates now scattered all over the country was a big task for the reunion committee, as led by Sharon Shutter, otherwise known as Peachy Pumphrey, and Jim Wheaton.
total participation for all the events was about 560. And the high school drew the most with 410, and I think the picnic's coming in around 380, and this was supposed to be about 360. We got this idea from Peachy, who evidently got it from her class for the combined reunion. And I thought it was a terrific idea. I thought that if we could get multiple classes together, we would have more interaction than just single class. And I think one of the things that motivated me the greatest were girlfriends, old girlfriends. And one of them came, and it's been a number of years since I've seen her, and it's just been great.
My name is Sharon Peachy Shutter, and I'm from the class of 1964.
You were the founder of this idea, weren't you, Peachy?
Well, last year we had our 30th reunion, and I had a lot of people come up to me and say, wouldn't it be neat to have a multiple reunion, maybe 2 years ahead of us and 2 years behind us? And everybody seemed to really, really like the idea. And since I've been doing our reunions for the past, I don't know, 15, 20 years, I thought about it, and I thought, well, maybe there was a way I could get out of it if I just ignored it and they wouldn't say anymore. But then I kept getting phone calls about it. So around November, I started trying to make some phone calls and find people that would maybe be willing to help us do this. And I got real lucky and found about 10 people that were really willing to help a lot, and they did. You're just out to have a good time, and yes, you're out to finish school and concentrate and do the best you can, but I know for myself, it was just my high school years were the best I've had, and going back up there today at the school and seeing the school and the classrooms and the lockers, it just brought back a lot of memories, and all the people that you spent those 4 or 5. In fact, I was up there from 8th grade till 12th grade, and you know, a lot of those people are still in the area, but most of them are gone, and it's really neat seeing those people again.
And looking across and seeing all those faces and people together that sang together for 4 years, it was like, why can't I put it in a bottle? It's fleeting. You just can't. It's so overwhelming and so beautiful that you can't describe it.
In addition to having a good time and seeing a lot of old friends, the memories of Groveton help these baby boomers reflect on a distinctive era of American history over the last nearly 40 years. Groveton no longer exists as a school.
1957 to 1976. Thanks for the memories. Dedicated by the class.
But its students continue to live and evolve in a rapidly changing world. The presence of the boomer generation has been hard to ignore since the mid-50s when Groveton opened. And even if the school has moved and changed names, for these graduates and teachers returning to their Tiger Jubilee, there is a big place in their hearts for Groveton High School.